Did you know there's 3 R's when it comes to river cruising? Well, no, not actually. Actually, there's only 2 R's and a V. Today, we're lining up Riviera, Riverside, and comparing them to Viking River Cruises. Stay tuned. My guest today is Lauren Matthews, travel expert with Cruise and Travel Specialists. Lauren and her team of expert travel advisors have been meeting the needs of their clients across the country for the last 30 plus years. Hi, Lauren. Welcome back to RTE-Travel Talk.
Hi, Ken. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to have you back with us. So, Lauren, we get a lot of comments from viewers and listeners who are trying to decide really which river cruise is best for them. And to a person, every single one of them is almost always has heard of Viking River Cruises. And several others have also heard of the 2 A's in river cruising, Avalon Waterways and Alma Waterways. So I thought today we would kind of line up the 2 R's in river cruising alongside Viking, and that's Riviera and Riverside. How does that sound?
It sounds great.
Super. So why don't we take a quick look at each one and you can tell us a little bit about how they compare.
So as you mentioned, Viking is a very well-known cruise. So a lot of the North American market, they're keeping a paper mill in business somewhere, and they send a ton of advertising. So we know a lot about Viking, and that's why I have a job, because there are so many options. With Riverside and Riviera, while their names are very similar, they are very different cruise lines. So if you were thinking you were booking one and getting on the other, you would be surprised.
Really?
And not in a bad way on either end. They're just very different products. Riverside is a company that's based in Germany, really. It has a lot of German clientele. They have 3 ships. It's a small fleet. It's a new company.
Right.
They are ultra luxury is their positioning in the market, and they are new. They bought some of Crystal's old river ships. We're hearing some wonderful things, but we don't have as much information as their competitors.
Well, Crystal ships were beautiful.
That's the thing. There's no arguing the ships are beautiful. They are absolutely gorgeous. The staterooms are beautiful. The sizes are great. Some of their ships don't even have fixed window rooms. And then the ones that do have big windows. So it's a really neat product. And I'm excited about it because it is giving us another option for that luxury experience, which we have some great ones already. But quite frankly, luxury lines fill up faster because they have less ships.
Right.
So we really need those options.
Right on. So when it comes to luxury, if we were lining it up against Viking, then Riverside would then fit in above Viking.
Correct.
Okay.
It's an all-inclusive product, but they also have different levels of pricing. So you can say, I don't drink, so I don't want to pay for the drink package, but I do want to have the excursions included, or vice versa.
Okay.
I just want to drink the whole time and not go on excursions. That's a choice too. Yep. Or you can have all or none. So it definitely is good to have someone that understands their pricing structure, because I and my fellow agents who know the product can really show you, like, here's the value of it. So if you don't add it, things like that. But again, they're kind of finding their way in the market. So they're a luxury product, but really their pricing is pretty competitive, especially now as they try to get into the market. They also have no single supplement on their lowest categories usually, which is a really big draw. That is where Riverside is
positioned.
Sitting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what about Riviera?
Yeah. So Riviera is the most popular river cruise line in the UK.
Really?
So it is more focused on the UK traveler. They have made a concerted effort recently to expand into the North American market. And really what that means is food is a big one. I studied abroad in London, and I remember my first full English breakfast, and I was like, why is this stuff on my plate? And so
it's an acquired taste.
Yeah, I mean, but also just to me, it was like dinner food. I was like, I don't want beans and tomatoes. I'm like, what is happening here? And so they're really trying to change that. Right. And we've heard really good things about that as well. Now, Riviera is it's a value line. So they definitely are less expensive, generally less expensive than Viking.
Okay.
But I would say that if you were kind of ranking them, they'd be a little bit below Viking, although their ships are really beautiful. They're the same ships that Tauk uses. So it's kind of a catch-22. So if you're not like a huge foodie, but you'd rather a bigger room, Riviera might be a good choice. Whereas like, the food on Viking is a little bit better, but the rooms are smaller. So again, it's all about finding the right fit.
Interesting. So the ships that they sail are the equivalent to Tauk.
They're built exactly the same,
Wow.
but Tauk, and because Tauk leases their ships,
Yeah.
which I know is not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's a T, but
Yeah.
Tauk leases their ships, and so they run them on board, but they are exactly the same ships.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So, what type of guest would we find on each?
So first you're going to get just the demographics are going to be Viking is North American.
Right.
Riverside is more Germans, and then Riviera is more UK. So right off the top, you're going to have that. Viking, again, they have pushed the American market, and so they have a really good stronghold and they have a ton of ships. So they will have more of a North American, but some, different countries as well. Riverside, again, is new. And so they are attracting past Crystal guests as well because they loved those ships. And they're attracting kind of early adopters, I would say, people that aren't afraid to take a risk and go on a new product, because some people really don't want to risk their once in a lifetime vacation.
Right.
But at the same time, other people are like, well, if we get a really good deal and we're kind of on the beginning of this. So I think that that's really going to be interesting to see. I've had some clients reach out who were going to go with another luxury line and then said, you know what, we're going to try Riverside because they have some different things, things like room service. And so, I mean, that might seem like kind of trivial to some people, but for people that like room service, myself included, it's pretty important to that client. Again, you can choose what you want on Riverside as well. So that's kind of cool. And they do allow children, which in the luxury market is not typical.
No.
So, and they have a situation where you can get two adjoining like rooms into a big suite on some of their ships. So it's an interesting product and I'm excited to experience it myself. We do have an agent that was on there and really loved it. So the food was fabulous. The wine was fabulous. Again, all inclusive, really a nice product.
And kind of a European atmosphere on board.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And then Riviera is, again, it's very heavy on UK travelers. I love the UK and their people, and it's great and fun. But again, they are really trying to break into that North American market. So you'll have some, but on the flip side, you'd be the one with like the cute accent because yours is different, right? So that's my take from studying abroad, I guess, was that it's not always bad to be the one sticking out. So they're definitely going to have more English, Scotland, Ireland.
So like if you're a fan of the UK and Britain and Ireland, then that ship is going to probably be a great fit for you because it's what you're used to. And
you can make some friends and swap houses and do all that fun stuff. So there's a ship for everyone. There's a cruise line for everyone.
Let's talk about what's near and dear to my heart on any kind of cruise, whether it's a river cruise or an ocean cruise, and that's the food. How do you how does it stack up between the three lines?
So I would say Viking's right in the middle,
right,
and then Riverside is Riverside is grilling giant prawns on the top deck and doing, seared tuna and steaks at the buffet at lunch. And so it's definitely that luxury product. So your foodies are going to want to spend the extra money and go over here. Riviera is really, I would say it's a step below Viking, but you're not going to starve. I wouldn't say it's for foodies, but I would say if it's good, it's just not their stronghold. But also they charge less and more expensive food costs more money. So, there's a give and take.
No, exactly. So when you're looking at these three lines, Lauren, how do you make the determination which line would be the best fit for your guests?
What I like to do is do a Zoom call. I'm big on Zoom calls and making that connection with the people. I find that finding out, what their favorite trip was, what their least favorite trip was. And then I kind of have a checklist of like, is room service important to you? Are you a foodie? Do you drink? Do you drink more than wine and beer at lunch and dinner? Are you going to want to do a million excursions? Are you going to want to get off and wander around the town by yourself? So there's so many different things that we go through. I kind of refer to myself as like the cruise matchmaker because it's truly like this little formula. And also just years and years of experience and getting to know people and saying, you know what, I think this would really fit what you're looking for, and the experience and the feel. That might be the atmosphere, the ship, the service, whatever it is. I would tell you my secrets, but then I wouldn't have a job. So it's all about getting to know our clients and matching them with the right product.
Right on, right on. Let me see if I got this straight now. We've got Riverside at the top of the list, and they fall into truly a luxury river cruise line.
Correct.
Viking is more of your contemporary line, which is what a lot of people from the United States would feel comfortable with. And then for the British type experience and perhaps the best value, we have Riviera.
Correct.
In terms of inclusivity, obviously Riverside is probably going to be the most all-inclusive. They would include all the excursions, wine, beer. Where do the other ones fall?
Again, though, be careful because Riverside will include those if you choose them. You can opt out of them.
Okay.
It is usually a better value to include them from what I've seen, but you can opt out. So I don't ever want to say that it's all-inclusive where, a company like Tauk, you don't get to choose.
Right.
The price is the price. You get what you get, and you don't get to opt out. Riverside, you can. And then with Viking and Riviera, you're going to have similar wine and beer at lunch and dinner, and then a kind of basic excursion that's included, and then you can add on outside of those. And they don't have room service, and spas aren't as nice and things like that.
So when we talk Riverside, that's actually quite a novel way of doing their pricing, that you can actually build it up from what you want on a luxury line.
It is. I think we are kind of seeing, at least from my perspective, more and more people are not drinking as much. I don't know if it's just this like cultural shift. I don't know if it's happening other places, but we've really noticed that, 10 years ago, everyone wanted drinks included.
Yeah.
That's what we want. And now some people are like, I don't care, or I don't drink at all. So I love the idea of not paying for somebody else's bar tab. So we're seeing it with our clients that it's not quite as important. And also you're off the ship on river cruises so much that maybe you want to go try the local bar, a beer, or whatever. And of course they will have a huge selection on board depending on which ship. Again, Riviera and Viking will have less of a choice, whereas Riverside would have more options.
And it gives you a lot more flexibility.
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Lauren, this is really super information. Is there anything else about these three lines before we wrap up?
I think that they are all great and great for different travelers, but there are even more. So you should definitely have a trusted professional that spends their days looking at these and traveling and seeing what's out there next.
Exactly, because there's so many things to think about.
It never stops changing.
What would you advise people that are looking to book a river cruise either later this year or next?
It's always better to be early. I know that people have this idea of last minute deals, which sometimes can come along, but river cruises have much less capacity. And I think that people get surprised when they call us, and next year there are ships that are already sold out. So I think that it's important to reach out to someone knowledgeable who can work the system and keep an eye on things. And make sure that they're getting you on the right product. But I also don't want you to go on something just because it's the last room left. I would say that it's best to reach out early. And of course, flexibility is helpful, but we will always do our best to match you with the right cruise.
Super. Now, speaking of reaching out, Lauren, if folks wanted to reach out to you about a river cruise vacation, how would they do that?
You can give me a call, my direct line, 503-449-7461 down there. Shoot me an email, whatever works, text, call. Entrepreneurs, right? We'll take it however you want to give it to us. So we'll just reach out and we'll make sure that we get you taken care of.
Well, that sounds great. I'll leave that contact information in the description for folks. So
wonderful.
Just before we get out of here, as you know, I like to live vicariously through the travels of all the wonderful people I get to interview on this show. I have to know where you're off to next.
Next, I'm going to Alaska out of
fantastic.
Seattle next week doing that. And, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, we like to enjoy it because that's why we put up with 9 months of rain. So we're sticking a little bit around here. We're doing the Grand Canyon this summer by train, and then I'll be back on Tauk in Europe in the fall.
That sounds fantastic. We'll have to have you back to regale us with your adventures in Alaska. How does that sound?
Looking forward to it.
Super. Well, with that, Lauren, I'm just going to wish you safe and happy travels on all your future river cruises, cruise vacations, and destinations. May the wind always be at your back, and I hope to see you sometime soon on a Lido deck.
You too, Ken. Thanks.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
And that about wraps it up for today, folks. A very special thanks to my guest, Lauren Matthews of Cruise and Travel Specialists. If you'd like to reach Lauren, I will leave her contact information in the description. If you'd like to reach us, you can send a question to questions@realtravelexperts.com, visit our website, realtravelexperts.com, or simply leave a comment. We always respond. And as always, folks, if you enjoyed this content, a like, subscribe, share, and a ring of the bell is certainly appreciated and helps us to spread the word. So until next time, happy travels.